I have recently returned to Gyala Delve and have been re-experiencing a lot of the different aspects of this map. As Gyala Delve released in the final updates of Ender Dragons, it was and continues to be one of the more unpopular maps in Guild Wars 2, and while I personally never hated the map, it was definitely lower in my rankings. But today, I want to go across the map and highlight the best aspects of it and go over my top 10 favorite things in Gyala Delve. So let's get started. In the number 10 spot are the vibes of the Haze. Basically, the story going on with the Haze that leads into demon storylines, where the atmosphere and idea of this map is pretty cool in and of itself, where you are descending deeper and deeper into a mine that is located under the Jade Sea and is an area of the world that has historically been a little bit spooky, where there are a lot of story elements and map design elements that play into the themes of this map and the story releases connected to it that just makes Gyala Delve's atmosphere feel relatively unique compared to other maps. Now, one of the biggest gameplay elements of this map is the Haze, where as you progress further, you're having to deal with the Haze or else it will cloud your mind and burn your lungs. And in order to deal with the Haze, you will need to get filters, where the filters deteriorate over time, so you will need to make sure you continue to refresh it. Now when it comes to gameplay, this mechanic was basically a flop and a lot of people don't like it, where it is annoying to be restricted from certain areas unless you go and recharge something in a different part of the map, and you have to pay attention to how long you have left until you can recharge it. But the idea is definitely really cool and it contributes a lot to the vibe of this map. In the number 9 spot is kind of a continuation of the last spot, but it is the demonic presence in this map, where Gyala Delve and the story chapters connected to it serve many different purposes. One is to continue the main Ender Dragon story by touching on a few different topics such as the Jade, but to also begin transitioning us into the secrets of the obscure story through the reintroduction of the Oni, where the Oni are very cool demons from the original Guild Wars, and it was fun to see them reintroduced here in Guild Wars 2, where they are pretty deadly enemies and fighting them is incredibly challenging. We then have the Ravenous Wanderer, of course, who is the most powerful Oni that we fight, and we fight him throughout the meta event in this map, which, I'll be honest, I'm not a big fan of this meta event, and neither are many other people, but still, the ending boss with the Ravenous Wanderer in his Haze form is super cool looking, and I really like this model. And then with the Secrets of the Obscure expansion, we learn that the Oni are cryptists, but are known as wanderers, like the Ravenous Wanderer, who are cryptists who did not agree with Eparch and basically left Nyos and did a bunch of things we see throughout Guild Wars and Guild Wars 2. In the number 8 spot is a very specific area, and it is Park Mining Ops. This is the area with a corresponding point of interest right at the start of the map, where this is basically the safest area in the entire map and it serves as a staging ground for you and other players as you prepare to push down into the map. And there are just a lot of different cool things all around here. The merchant for the special ops armor can be found here. You can also find a really cool NPC by the name of Ari who will offer you some background information and region lore about this map. And nearby you have basic merchants that you need for basic things, where all of this combined just makes it feel like a cool and immersive outpost that is incredibly useful to have in this map. But beyond all the utility that this place provides, there are also a lot of fun decorations. The main building is cool looking, and I love this elevator that you can take from the floor of this outpost up to the surface of the Jade Sea. I love the tunnel that is built into the Jade Sea that serves as the map entrance to New Kining City, and I love this entire rail system coming through here. I love the stoplight, I appreciate the few different fun things you can read, and there are just a bunch of other decorations that are fun and add a lot of great detail to this area. In the number 7 spot is kind of just the fact that we are underneath the Jade Sea. If we go back to that elevator we just talked about, you can get a good perspective of how there is the surface of the Jade Sea, but as you go down the elevator we are going down underneath the Jade Sea, where a lot of it has been excavated because of the mining operations going on here. But this map is incredibly unique because of all of this, where the Jade Sea used to be a major inland sea, but it was petrified into jade because of the jade wind emitted by the death of Shiro Tagachi long before the events of the original Guild Wars. So all throughout the Jade Sea, we can see the trend of what was once an ocean turned into a solid mass of jade. But now that we are going deeper into the jade, we have another opportunity of seeing what lies within the jade below the surface. And there are a ton of fun things and incredible decorations you can find throughout this map, and I just appreciate that aspect of this map, because it does make it feel very unique compared to every other map we have seen in Guild Wars 2. In the number 6 spot is the Jade Bot Rally adventure. This map has a handful of super fun adventures and I love them all. Or shout out to the Siege Stampede adventure as I love that one a lot, but this is my third favorite of them and we will obviously talk about the other two as we continue forward. Where I love having uses for the Jade Bot throughout Ender Dragons because I do think it is a bit underutilized at times, and having a fun minigame here in the map is fantastic. where you have to fly all around the jade pools and collect these little orbs in order to complete the adventure. Where I think a cool part of this adventure is just the environment that you do this in. The orbs are in cool places and the jade pools as a whole are fantastic, but there are a couple of special areas that you head to during this adventure that I think are incredible little pockets of this map that are absolutely gorgeous. I will say that one of the biggest complaints that people have with this map is that in order to access these adventures you have to complete the very long meta event, and after the meta event is complete, you only have an hour in that specific instance in order to do these adventures, which is frustrating if you want to do the adventure but can't, and also makes it a bit more stressful since you have a time limit, albeit a gracious one. In the number 5 spot is another adventure, and it is Rolling into the Deep, where this is a roller beetle race that starts in the excavation yard near Park Mining Ops, takes you into the hollow and around Jade Pillar Point Base, takes you all through the Howling Caves and into the Jade Pools, and you finish inside of the Deep. Where I always love a good roller beetle race, and this one is very fun, where I love the entire route, and I especially love certain parts of this race, like when you go across the bridge in the Howling Caves. But similar to the Jade Bot Rally, this adventure provides you a good opportunity to take in the views of this map, because it is a very pretty map with a lot of fun areas, and I love zooming around this entire map during this adventure and just appreciating the views. The Deep is very cool looking, and I like the ending to this race as you bounce on top of the Celestial Pool and over towards the central island. In the number 4 spot is the Mycelium Colony. This is a very specific area inside of the Jade Pools that I alluded to when we were talking about the Jade Bot Rally, where this map has a few very large areas, but then you can find some small pockets that are pretty unique to the rest of the map, and this is one of those. Where the name of this place is pretty self-explanatory. It is a cave with a bunch of mushrooms, and I love the look of this area with all the bones, the foliage, the rocks, and of course the mushrooms. Where I always love seeing the occasional mushroom area in Guild Wars 2, like the special cave in Jahai Bluffs. But there's actually a bit of a story going on here that provides quite a bit of world building, where this cave exists because these mushrooms are from the Maguma jungle, where if you are confused about how there are Maguma jungle mushrooms all the way here in Cantha, that is because they are a delicacy in Cantha, where traders smuggle these mushrooms into Cantha without performing safety inspections. But there's also a bit of a lore discrepancy here, because one of the mushrooms we can find in this cave looks the same as the otherworldly fungus from that special cave in Jahai Bluffs I mentioned, which those mushrooms are from another world in the mists, so it is weird that we can see one of those here in this cave of mushrooms originally from Maguma, where it is probably just reusing a model and all of these mushrooms are indeed from Maguma, but it does bring up an interesting lore idea and maybe a potential connection with the Oni or something. In the number 3 spot is the Jade Expanse. I talked earlier about how cool it was that we are underneath the Jade Sea, but I want to go back to that idea and look at the Jade Sea itself. If anyone remembers the other map located in the Jade Sea, Dragon's End, you can see along the eastern edge of the map, the Jade Expanse, with there being a point of interest in the southeastern corner named exactly that. And I always love this view, and when we got to Gyala Delve later on in the expansion, it was super cool to see this idea again, where I just love looking off into the expanse and seeing the Jade Sea. Pretty much all of this is located out of the bounds of the map, which you can break out of and explore bits of, but for the most part it serves as decoration that you can only look at while you are exploring the map. Where the main areas you can see this is of course the northern areas where you are closer to the surface of the Jade Sea and aren't super deep into the map. But I love all the different mountains, decorations, buildings, and just seemingly endless jade going off into the distance. While it is purely decorative and doesn't contribute anything as far as gameplay goes, it does a lot for the overall look and feeling of this map. In the number 2 spot is basically just the entire mine theme. I've talked a lot about the different aspects of this map that contribute to the overall vibe of the entire map, and this is the final big puzzle piece. While there's the Jade Sea and while we are underneath it, we are also going through a massive mining complex, where the Jade Sea has been excavated and dug into, and we can explore the areas within, but there are just a lot of different mining things going on here. You can see the massive mining rigs throughout this area, including the one that has collapsed into the mines and the Howling Caves, which is really cool. There are some different mining outposts, there are a bunch of miners, there's a bunch of supply for the miners and the mining operation, there's scaffolding all around here, but one particular detail that I absolutely love are all the different minecarts and tracks throughout this map. This may seem a bit silly, and I haven't talked about this too much yet in this series, but I have a special affinity towards minecarts and tracks in video games. Maybe it comes from my history of playing Minecraft, but I just absolutely love mine environments. I think they are super cool looking and do a lot to add to the immersion of the world, and they do a lot for Gyala Delve. But now for the number 1 spot, for my favorite thing in all of Gyala Delve, and it has to go to Silent Sands. this is the last adventure that I wanted to talk about, and it is a jumping puzzle. Getting to this adventure is super cool as you access it via a zipline that takes you through a skeleton stuck in the ceiling and over towards a cave entrance that you then climb into, where you can then do this jumping puzzle, and it is actually a decently challenging one. It is pretty short, but a few of these jumps are decently tricky to make, and I love that. Where with this being an adventure, you can spend some time in here practicing all the different jumps and try to get the best time out of everyone else. But this entire area is absolutely gorgeous. This may in fact be my favorite spot in the entire map when it comes to aesthetics, where you have some sand dunes on the bottom with the jade surrounding this entire area. You can see some sunlight beaming through the crevice in the roof. You have some skeletons around here, some Cavern architecture, a bunch of cool looking rocks, and a collection of gorgeous cherry blossom trees. This area just seems so peaceful and is separated from the rest of the map. It's like a tranquil little grove hidden right underneath the Jade Sea. Where that, combined with the fact that this is a jumping puzzle that I have a lot of fun with, just makes this my favorite thing in all of Gyala Delve. And that's my list. I hope you enjoyed. While Gyala Delve is one of the least popular maps in Guild Wars 2, and for some very good reasons, there are still a lot of aspects to this map that are incredible. I would love to hear what your own favorite thing in Gyala Delve is down in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, consider subscribing, and I hope you all take good care of yourselves. Have a good one, everyone.